Okay, how are you?
I'm doing very well, thanks. And how are you?
I'm good.
Sure.
So tell me, how is your 2020 going?
2020 was an interestingly challenging year because, in the beginning there was too much opportunity, showing because, it's a 2020 and the beginning of a new decade, it's nice. But when we were faced with the coronavirus, now it was a challenge that we all had to face.
Yeah.
The pandemic was, challenging us to go back to our homes and reevaluate
Yeah.
one. If anything, that's one thing for me that I found so interesting about this year,
Yeah.
is that I have gotten the opportunity to reevaluate my life in
Yeah.
the space of the people that brought me up,
Yeah.
as opposed to doing it on my own, right? To understand where do I go from here, looking into the new norm that we are about to,
You see life
embark
differently.
on. Yeah. So I really, really found it quite interesting because of that. But if anything, I really liked how also our country, on its own, we have allowed ourselves to develop. We have allowed ourselves to clean up the mess that has been going on, that we've been crying
Yeah.
about for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I really, find it quite an interesting and challenging year because of those two things. But all in all, I hope and pray that this coronavirus thing goes away. Yeah, we are able to deal with it, and things come out well. But yeah, 2020 has been nothing but an interestingly challenging year. Yeah.
The purpose of this interview was to get your journey, and your journey of self-discovery and self-love, Gonna use this outlet as a positive impact for someone who's going through your experiences. Yeah. Okay, so what is your sexuality and what do you identify as?
Okay, I identify as a male, a gay male. Yeah, that's how I identify my sexuality. I think, if anything, I identify more with myself being human and the humanness of it, and that's me being a black male who's a gay man. Yeah. So gay then becomes, the sexual orientation. Therefore, something that becomes intrinsic to my sexual being, intrinsic to my emotional being when it comes to the people I interact with, on an emotionally, romantic level. Yeah. So, So that's it. I think I'm gay because I like men. Yeah.
So when did you first realize that you like men?
I first realized I like men. It was. I think it was when I first went through the experience of having a wet dream, right? Because then it was a situation where I was in grade 9. I was part of a classroom. Obviously, there's guys and there's girls. We all speak about our experiences. As we grow up, as we find adolescent, and we explore our sexualities and all of that. And the first time I had a wet dream about a boy, and that was something that was alarming because I didn't actively want to go and ask a boy out, or was expecting to be asked out by a boy. Until then, I acted on it in matric. That's when I then was ready to now date, when I was ready to engage, with someone romantically. I was therefore drawn to boys more than I was to girls or anyone in society, and gay boys. That is not just any boy, right? So that's what it is. That I've always been attracted to gay men. Since I think when I understood what sex is and what I I want from sex.
How did you deal with the confusion?
So honestly, I don't think I was ever confused, but I was just never exposed to it. So the fact that I was the only guy in my Gasi to be going through such a thing is what was like the challenge. The fact that I have to teach myself what gay is, what bottoming is, what top is, when I don't see it happen, my type, what is it that I like? You see, that's the challenge that I had more than the challenge of wanting to be with a man. Because of the society that I come from. When you come from Soweto, you come from a space that is very progressive and open, and so the space that I'm from is a space that was very accepting of people that were openly gay, right? But the immediate space I was from didn't have people that were openly gay. So I didn't kind of have like someone to look up to of some sort to say, okay, that's who I would or might look like when I'm 20 or when I'm 30,
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that was the challenge. Presentation, or rather, wasn't there. Like I didn't see myself where I grew up, right? Even though now I go back and there's more of openly gay people than what it was back then. Yeah.
So, could you explain your coming out experience in relation to your family and then your friends?
So one, I don't think I have a come out story because I honestly have always been gay. Yeah. So it's like growing up, I was that child that was always with the girls. Hence, when I thought of myself, I would think of myself with boys, perhaps, right? And therefore, subsequently have a wet dream with a boy, right? I think I had allowed people in my space to accept me as I am. I never for a second questioned myself, so I didn't box myself, right? I didn't find a reason to closet myself from experiencing life as it was, right? Hence the whole wet dream thing. It was a chat that I was having with my friends in class to say, but like my wet dream though was with a guy I didn't even know. What does that mean? And it was that's weird, bruh, But one thing for sure is they still understood what it meant. I still understood what it meant. The fact that, okay, it means that you are attracted to the same sex. Hence, you would think about that and you would dream about that.
This is very interesting because it seems like everybody I interview has different experiences.
Yeah,
Innocent had, like a difficult time coming out to his family, and you just eased into it. So it shows it's just different. A different situation with every person.
It is definitely a different situation with every person, but I think the most important thing is it starts with the self, right? What you tell yourself about your sexuality is what the other person is going to get from you. So you see, sexuality for me was never something that drives who I am. It wasn't the first thing that I wanted to interact someone with. But it was something that when I engage with someone romantically, it's going to be with the same sex, right? So I think that's how I approached life with my sexuality. So it was always, I am Silo, I am Kenneth. I'm not the gay Silo or the gay Kenneth. No, I'm Silo. So you're gonna engage with me when we're engaging, if you're in school, if you are doing that, if you're doing that. But assuming I like someone, I'm gonna like a gay guy, and that's where I lie, right? And that has always allowed me to engage with people surpassing their sexuality, because if I have expectations of someone seeing gay cellular, it means I'm going to have to see straight or gay or so that box basically was something I didn't want to exist in my life, because if anything, that is how I find that people closet themselves. You closet yourself because you want to portray a certain image, not the image that you yourself want to live, right? And therefore it becomes hard to tell other people that have seen you grow that now you decide to live a different life. You see, it's quite confusing for parents to receive that and say, okay, it's cool, because I mean you have been growing up as this person. What do you mean? So for me, it has my mom has never asked me a weird question that I didn't or couldn't answer when it came to relationships or sexuality. She would be like, I want grandchildren, and I'd tell her the day I get married I'll have grandchildren, but I shall not get with a woman. I shall get a child the way I shall get a child. You see, and then because she's older and she's from a different generation, she's gonna have more questions. What do you mean? Like the first time we had that conversation. But what do you mean? I'm like, you haven't asked me who am I interested in. That's where you should start. You see now, it is a space that was so open and so free for me to realize myself in sexuality, as opposed to being boxed into either you're gonna be gay or you're gonna be straight. There was always opportunity for me to even end up straight if I was straight. Oh yeah.
Do you experience any social pressures?
I opt to not experience any social pressures, right? I think life is a choice. The life the way we choose to live our lives matters to how we therefore end up and the experiences we have, right? So when there's spaces that are homophobic because of the narrative that people from that space were brought up with exist, it is a space for me to not engage. If anything, I always understand that human comes in different forms. We all have different ideologies that make whoever we are. And because of that, it is important for one to always respect and understand where people come from before they impart where they themselves come from. So social pressures for me are things that exist because they were, they exist because they are supposed to question your validity in society. And I honestly feel me being my existence is I don't know what's the word. Vilifies. No, that's not the word. It's validity enough that I matter. I'm worthy, right? So a lot of the times, people who fall into social pressures, it's because they themselves lack to understand themselves as humans in society, because someone thinks what they are acting or what they're doing is a sin, right? So when someone tells you what you're doing is a sin and therefore you're gonna go to hell for it, it becomes a pressure on you and your identity, right? If you take it in as a negative energy that it is, it will affect your positive space, right? I choose to not engage that. I choose to not take that when I read the Bible. I choose to read the Bible to understand what the message from the Bible says. To say that this world has the bad and the good that exist. It's up to you if you take the bad from the world or if you take the good, right? So social pressure is the bad that I deny to take. It is the bad that I say, it shall exist, but it will not touch me. I will always work towards breaking through the social stereotype, the social narrative, the social expectations that society has about gay people. I will always surpass them, and I will always be myself and be happy being myself.
Okay, that's cool. Do you take part in any LGBT activities?
A lot, hey. from my first year at university, I was part of the committee, Wits Activate for the Pride. So Wits Pride, we host Wits Pride every year. So I was part of the committee for like in 2015. And then 2016, I therefore started too many things. So I got out of it, but started Gala, Gays and Lesbian. It's called Gays and Lesbian Gallery. It's a gallery for gays and lesbians at Wits Art Museum. So there we went to, speak about our experiences growing up as gay people in our homes, in our societies, and even at Wits, how we feel. And it was it's such an important space because of we came across people that didn't understand what being gay meant when they have been living a gay life their whole lives, because they've been expecting people to show them what their life is when in actual fact you yourself should find it yourself, So I've always been in gay spaces, always been engaging in mostly though in the institution that I was in. That's mostly where I've been. With Pride every year I'm doing something with them. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, what positive message can you give out to anyone going through the process?
So if anything, I feel the first big thing is to love yourself. Self-love is the most important thing one needs to have, because loving yourself requires understanding who you are, firstly. And when one understands themselves, there's nothing, no negative energy, no social pressure that would be thrown in their face and it would require a clap back, or it will require them to respond to it, because you understand that it is because of the obliviousness of the other person or of the teachings that they got that they have that type of attitude, right? Secondly, I think understand your purpose. What is it that you are here to do in this world? I've always wanted to, live my purpose. I've always wanted to understand my life as a purpose living life. If I shy away from that, if I forget that I am living in this world because I have a purpose to fulfill, then I will lose myself. And a lot of the times I find that most of my friends, are going through that same crisis, of a self-identity crisis, because you have a self-identity crisis because you don't see why you exist, what's your purpose in this world, because there are these negative things about you more than there are these positive things that the society holds about you. So if you make your life about you, if you make your life about yourself, if you make your life about loving yourself, understanding yourself, and taking care of yourself, the world is going to be that coming back to you. It's going to love you, it's going to take care of you, and it's going to understand you. That's how my world has been, because that's what I have been giving off to my world. Negative pressures will always exist, but if you don't have negative expectations, you shall not get negative responses.
Cool. Okay, thank you. This was actually a cool interview.
Thanks.
Thank you for sharing your story.
I really enjoyed it as well.
Thank you for sharing your story, and I hope that your story impacts a lot of people.
I hope so too. Hey, I hope so too.
Cool.
Sure.